China is the world's #1 importer of crude oil.
The shipment of the crude oil can be easily disrupted by the United States.
We expect also very low imports of U.S. crude oil into China next month.
When China hit back with tariffs and export curbs, Trump rolled back.
America just lost the world's biggest oil customer, and Donald Trump is melting down. China didn't just cut back on U.S. oil, they erased it completely. From 160,000 barrels a day to almost nothing. No warning, no negotiation, just a 10% tariff and total silence. Let's break down what really happened here. In February 2025, China imposed that modest 10% tariff on U.S. crude oil. Trump's response? More threats, more tweets, more chaos. China's response? They stopped buying. Even when American oil was offered at massive discounts, Chinese refiners turned it down. Cold silence, no phone calls, no negotiations, just empty shipping lanes where billion-dollar deals used to flow. The numbers don't lie. U.S. crude shipments to China have plummeted to nearly zero. Export terminals from Corpus Christi to Houston are running half empty. Pipelines that were built specifically for Asian markets are now pumping to nowhere.
Deadlock is over energy. The U.S. wants China to stop buying oil from Iran and Russia, but Beijing has refused to comply. China is among the biggest customers for Iran and Russia. It buys almost all of Iran's oil. We're talking about 80 to 90% of Iran's oil exports. They go to China. That's more than 1 million barrels every day.
But China didn't just walk away empty-handed. While American ports sat idle, Beijing was busy locking in massive oil deals with Russia, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the UAE. These aren't panic purchases. This is a complete rewiring of the global oil system. And here's the kicker. Most of these new contracts are paid in yuan, not dollars. Every barrel China buys from Russia or Iran is a barrel that doesn't touch the U.S. financial system. Trump didn't just lose a customer, he lost control.
The Chinese are tough negotiators. We're tough too. It was led by the vice premier, my counterpart, Hu Feng, who I have great respect for. He is both a statesman, a tough negotiator. We pushed back on them quite a bit and made our positions known. I believe that we have the makings of a deal.
This is where it gets really embarrassing for Trump. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent sat across from Chinese officials and essentially begged them to stop buying Russian and Iranian oil. China's response was brutal. We'd rather pay a 100% tariff than take orders from you. Think about that. The country that once needed American approval for everything just told the President of the United States to take his threats and shove them. That's not just defiance, that's confidence. While Trump was playing tariff games, China was playing chess.
How'd they do that? How did they reduce their dependence on the lifeblood of modern industry, the thing America produces more of than any other country?
So for the last 12, 15 years, certainly, China has been on a quiet and increasingly visible push to become the renewable energy superpower of the world.
In 1965, you can see how China relied almost entirely on coal to generate electricity. Over time, oil came to form a more and more important part of the picture. But look what's happening here with hydro and nuclear and wind and solar. They've cut dramatically into the need for oil and coal.
For most countries, EV is seen as the future of driving, but for China, the future has arrived.
For the last 15 years, China has been quietly building the world's largest renewable energy empire. Solar panels, wind turbines, electric vehicle factories, all designed to cut their dependence on foreign oil. China now has over 14 million EV charging stations. Nearly half of all new cars sold in China are electric. They're not just reducing oil imports, they're engineering their way out of needing them at all. Meanwhile, Trump's energy policy? Drill more holes, burn more coal, and pray that 1970s thinking works in 2025. It doesn't. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. U.S. oil production is actually declining in 2025 for the first time in years. Why? Because Trump's tariff chaos has crashed global oil prices so low that American shale producers can't afford to drill new wells. So let's put this in context. Texas alone, once an economic powerhouse fueled by oil exports to China, has started shedding thousands of jobs in energy, transport, and port services. Small towns from Midland to Corpus Christi that boomed during the last export surge, now staring for sale signs. The dominoes fall across the South. Out-of-work truckers, unsold heavy machinery, shuttered small businesses. So let's recap Trump's brilliant strategy. Start a trade war. Lose your biggest customer, crash oil prices, force American producers to shut down operations. That's not winning. That's economic suicide. But here's what should terrify every American watching this.
The US wants China to stop buying oil from Iran and Russia, but Beijing has refused to comply. China is among the biggest customers for Iran and Russia. It buys almost all of Iran's oil. We're talking about 80 to 90% of Iran's oil exports. They go to China. That's more than 1 million barrels every day.
China isn't just buying oil from Russia and Iran. They're buying 1.7 million barrels per day of Iranian crude alone. That's 10 times what they used to buy from the US. Iranian oil, Russian oil, Saudi oil, all paid for in yuan, all shipped through routes that completely bypass American control. Trump wanted to isolate Iran and Russia. Instead, he isolated America. And let's not forget the global ripple. India, Europe, even Southeast Asian nations are locking in non-dollar oil deals. For the first time in decades, US sanctions don't carry the same punch. If China, India, or the EU want Russian or Iranian oil, they can get it, often cheaper, always outside US oversight. The damage is spreading beyond oil. US imports from China have collapsed by up to 80% in some sectors. American ports are sitting half empty. Retailers are paying 2.5 times more for basic goods. Try to order a smartphone, an appliance, or even a holiday gift. Prices are up, delays are common. Warehouse workers, truckers, and local store owners are now feeling the shockwaves too. Real people, real jobs, real consequences. And it's not just China. Mexico and Canada are building new trade corridors, bypassing US ports. Closest allies are literally building around us because they can't trust Trump not to blow up the next deal. Already, Canadian energy executives are celebrating a historic win. This isn't just about oil prices or trade deficits. This is about American relevance in the global economy. For decades, the world ran on American terms: American currency, American rules, and American approval. That era is ending. Let's pull back for a moment. For the last half-century, the US dollar was the king, nearly 60% of all currency reserves, the backbone of oil and commodity trading. When America wanted something, it could threaten access to those dollars, sanction rival economies, and essentially dictate global terms. Today, in Shanghai and Mumbai, oil contracts are being negotiated and settled without a single US dollar involved. And Trump? He's still on social media claiming victory while the world moves on without America. At home, the fallout hits the most vulnerable first. When supply chains choke and costs rise, it's not the politicians or Wall Street who feel it. It's the rest of America, watching grocery bills climb and dollar buy less year after year. So let's get real about what's next. Can the US revive its lost markets in the age of Chinese domination? Will American oil producers pivot fast enough to new buyers in Africa, Latin America, or Southeast Asia? Or will they be stuck with unused tankers and unpaid loans? Can a new administration rebuild trust, or has Trump's hardball gamble already become permanent damage? The question isn't whether America can win this trade war. The question is whether anyone will notice when Trump finally surrenders. So what do you think? Can America recover from Trump's oil disaster, or has China already won, and is US just now realizing the world has moved on? Drop your thoughts below and hit subscribe for more reality checks the mainstream media won't give you.